You've probably heard me talking about True Leaf Market by now, who are sponsoring On The Ledge for a whole 3 months. And it's fantastic to have their support and help me bring more and more houseplant tips and chat to everyone who loves indoor gardening. Listeners in the US can use the coupon code ONTheLedge to get 10% off your purchase at True Leaf Market. It's the place to go for everything you need to get started growing indoors. A great range of seeds for sowing veg, herbs and flowers in your garden, and kits to get started with sprouting or even growing your own mushrooms too. So check out trueleafmarket.com now and use the offer code ONTheLedge to get 10% off your first purchase. Hello and welcome to On The Ledge podcast. I'm your host Jane Perrone, and you may be thinking, oh, this doesn't sound like Jane's studio. Well, that's because I'm out on holiday by the beach, on the beach in fact, right now, enjoying a typical English holiday on a rainy, windswept, sandy stretch of beach. I'll be back in my studio by the time you hear this, but I thought this might be fun to record on the go. And in the busy life of a podcaster, well, sometimes you just have to deal... Off, leave! Sorry, the dog was about to eat a deer carcass then. Sometimes you just have to do things when you can and where you can. So I hope you enjoy the little sound effects in this week's episode. And in this week I'm talking to Baylor Chapman about plants in the bedroom and her new book, Decorating with Plants. Baylor's the author of the plant recipe book and the founder of Lila B Design, and that's a San Francisco-based design studio. So we discuss the myth that plants are bad for bedrooms. We try to find some more suitable plants for my dark bedroom, and hear all about a plant called Super Clone. Just love that name. Thanks to Jane, that's not me, that's another Jane, for becoming a patron of On The Ledge this week. That means she's unlocked extra exclusive content and helping to keep the show growing and pay for things that are kind of exciting, like a trip to the Peak District to visit the UK's national collection of peperomias. Yes, I'm dedicating a whole show to peperomias coming up, and I'm heading off to see the lady who owns the national collection in the UK, so she's got all of the peperomias. That's going to be a really nice episode. And Patreon support will be helping to fund that trip. And oh yes, don't forget to grab your smartphones this week and send me a 30-second or so voice memo about why you love On The Ledge. Send it to ontheledgepodcast@gmail.com, and I'm going to put those out in my 100th episode. Right, let's get on with my chat with Baylor, speaking to me all the way from San Francisco.
Hello, Jane. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm a big, big, big fan. And my name is Baylor Chapman, and I'm based in San Francisco, and I'm a plant designer. And I've published a couple books, and my purpose is really to help people feel the joy of playing with plants and how they can really better our lives and make us better people.
What a great idea for a book. Decorating with Plants. I've got a copy in front of me, and it's a really lovely book. And I like this idea of playing with plants because I think sometimes us houseplant addicts can get a bit too serious about our plants and get very sort of worried about experimenting and trying new things in case we kill them or in case anything goes wrong. And there is something in treating plants as kind of like a raw material, isn't there, that frees you up to try new things.
And that's what I think I want is when I run into so many people and I tell them what I do, a lot of people say, oh, I am a plant killer. And there's so much guilt and shame around that. And I don't think it's okay. You know, I've burnt toast, I've burnt dinners, I've messed up on so many things. And so why not mess up on a plant here and there? It's okay. Just let it go and try again. So that's what I want. I want people just to experience the joyful part instead of the shameful part about caring for a plant and having to do it perfectly.
What's nice about this book is you go room to room looking at different solutions for different rooms. And that's really useful because every room does give a different set of challenges when it comes to using plants successfully. I wanted to focus in on the bedroom because I don't have many plants in my bedroom. I have a very dark, it was not dark, but it's just not a lot of light in there, and there's not a lot of surface area for plants. There's no window ledge. So I struggle with plants in my bedroom. So I need some advice here. But before we go on with that, I just wanted us both to finally put to bed is a terrible pun, but can we smash the myth about, don't have plants in your bedroom because they're going to cause you to be oxygen deprived or die or something horrendous?
Yeah, I think it's quite the opposite, but really it's the respiration. It's the back and forth between breathing, at which plants do like we do, but they're not going to steal all the air from us at night. Definitely not. I mean, it's such a trivial amount that happens. And then the other thing is there are some plants that actually release a little bit more oxygen at night. So I think that if you're really worried about it, then bring in a sansevieria or something like that, and that actually can release a little bit more during the evening than during the day. So you could think of it that way.
And if you're worried about, somebody stealing your oxygen, you probably need to be more worried about your dog, your cat, your boyfriend, your girlfriend than you are about, a couple of pothos or whatever it may be.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that myth, needs to be put to bed, as you put it. Definitely, because plants can only bring, good things to your bedroom, I think. So all the other benefits.
And what about this issue of putting plants into a bedroom space? I have struggled with this, as I've told you. I've struggled with this in previous bedrooms as well. I guess I've always seemed to have dark bedrooms that don't have a heck of a lot of light. There's some lovely bedrooms in your book which have got beautiful light, and I just look at my bedroom and go, oh, it's so sad. And the only place to put plants really is the dressing table, which is the furthest point from the window. So I really need some help here.
Okay. Well, my bedroom is the same.
Right. Okay. Give me hope.
Yeah, I think there is hope. And my San Francisco studio apartment is north facing, and it's pretty, it doesn't have a lot of direct light at all. And my bedroom is at the other end of the apartment, which has 2 French doors. So there are really no lights there. There's just a half wall. And I think there are solutions. I think there are solutions for small space living, and there's also good plants for low light. And sansevieria is the one that I mentioned before. And there are so many different ones, not the typical one you can see this. You can get them desktop size, and you could get them 5 feet high. There's one called Super Clone, which is pretty awesome, that can get up to 5 feet, and it's very narrow. So if you have a very small space, just get one Super Clone, put it in a really narrow vase, and it's about, I don't know, it could be even 5 inches wide or so, but the vase should be about 10 inches. There are braided sansevieria, which you could put on your desktop or your bureau top. And I think that if you are going to put something in your bedroom on your bureau top, you want to make it very sturdy. You don't want to make it very fluffy because it's a busy counter. It's something that sounds like you use a lot for your jewelry or your makeup or your watches or your glasses and things like that. So you want a plant that's a little more sturdy. So sansevieria is a great one because it's great for cleaning toxins in the air because of that NASA study. It's also durable, and it can take low light.
I've never heard of Super Clone. That's a new one on me. I'm going to have to Google that immediately. Super Clone. Okay.
Super Clone. And San Marcos Nursery in California, I spend a lot of time down near Santa Barbara. They have a great website that tells you all about plants, and that's where I bought it. And their website does tell you a little bit more about it. And there was one in the book I featured, I called it like a little box of chocolates. It was a whole bunch of sansevieria all in one pot, different varieties, and kind of fun. And the Super Clone is sticking up way above the rest.
Okay. Funnily enough, I was just looking at my sansevierias the other day, and how many have I got? I've got at least 3, and I arranged them with different, I've made quite a nice arrangement of these 3 pots, and they're sitting in the sunroom at the minute. Well, it's not too bright in there, but it's got a glass roof. So I wonder if I'm going to move those to my bedroom. That's an interesting thought, and it's a good point about the fluffiness, because I have had a previous bedroom. I think I may have told this story on the podcast before, but anyway, I had a previous bedroom which was painted bright yellow, really bright yellow. I don't know why now, it was long ago, but I had a shelf above the bed with plants hanging down, and I had a dream in the night, and I obviously thought something was attacking me, jumped up, started grabbing hold of the plants on the shelf, and my boyfriend, now husband, was kind of, I mean, he's not the best being woken up in the middle of the night anyway, but he was obviously giving me short shrift as I started to kind of fling houseplants around. But anyway, so it's a good point that you don't want things that are going to catch or be pulled off, because a bedroom tends to be the room in the house that has the most soft furnishings, where you least want kind of to be flinging potting soil about.
Yeah, you don't. Definitely not. You don't want to. It's like the bathroom or the kitchen. Those are great places to knock over a plant because you can just easily clean it up. It's got a surface, but your carpet in your bedroom or your bed, that's a little harder. So air plants would be another great one that you could use there to tuck them in places, and it's no soil there.
Yeah.
So.
And when you go to clients' homes and see people trying to put plants into their bedroom, where do people go wrong with this? What are the things that people do that just don't work, that you've kind of had to help them find a better path?
Well, I think it's about kind of what we talked about in the beginning, saying, oh, I'm just a plant killer, I can't keep things alive. So I think it's kind of thinking about your space and thinking about what would work there, like the right plant for the right space and the right owner. So it's kind of, okay, so here's my space. As you said, yours is a darker space, as is mine. So kind of go to the nursery and talk to the plant specialist there and find out, all right, here's my space. I don't get any direct light. And it's a colder space. What plant would work for that? So think about the right plant for that space, and then kind of think about, are you the right owner? Meaning that, are you going to be someone that really wants to care for this plant every few days? You really want to nurture it? Or are you someone who wants to kind of take a step back and say, you know what, I'll check on this plant every week or two. So kind of think about that and make that plant fit into your space and your time commitments. Kind of not about, oh, I love this plant, I'm going to just stick it there. So, and I also think about the fluffy part, which we just talked about. Think about your personality. What do you want your bedroom to be? I wouldn't put anything too thorny in my bedroom. I want it to be something that that feels very comfortable. And it could be that sculptural braided sansevieria I talked about, because it's still beautiful, even though it's not fluffy.
There's many a place for a fluffy plant, but that's not it. I used to have a Pilea libanensis, the very tiny leaf Pilea that can be quite fluffy. It was in front of it was sort of to the side of the TV, and I realised that, that wasn't a good place for it because it went over at least once. So now it's in the bathroom of the office where I am now, which is a windowsill that until recently was occupied by a framed photo of my husband's football team, which has now been, I don't think I've told him this yet, that's now been moved, and it's now got plants in it, because I've realised that actually it's quite good out there, because it's quite doesn't get too warm in the summer. So yes, it's been, I'm wondering when he's going to notice this picture's been moved. But
yes. But it's so important, though. It's like the psychological comfort of your home and surrounding yourself with meaningful objects, whether it's the photograph of your husband or the plant, and both seem to mean something to you because they both kind of are these stimuli for the senses. And when you go into your bedroom, you want to evoke that feeling. So I don't know if the football picture is the right one for the bedroom, but I was going to say you could move something like that into your bedroom.
I should say it's not a picture of my husband in a football team. It's the football team he supports. So it's not. If it was of him, I might have felt more.
Okay, I gotcha.
I might have felt more, more conflicted about moving it, but.
Definitely want plants in your bedroom. I mean, I love that you tried the Pilea in your bedroom because it's something that meant something to you. You spoke so lovingly about it, like, oh, it's fluffy and it was really sweet. And so try it. And if it doesn't work, find something else. And maybe you're going to end up with this Marimo ball just in water next to your bed, or you're going to hang it on a wall or something. And it's going to have to be really simple. But you want it to evoke that kind of that feeling of rest. It's your bedroom. It's about you. It's where you want to go and you want to rejuvenate. It's the place that you want to go to sleep there. You want it to be a lovely place for you. So don't put plants that are all thorny or something that stresses you out. Like, oh my God, I have to water that all the time. You want something that's really easy there. You want to rest your mind.
No maidenhair ferns then, no
Oh.
no alocasia polys or anything like that I just hear so often from listeners that they're, being tortured by yellowing leaves or anything like that. I think that you're right. You've got to have things that are just going to get on with it and be okay, so that you're not going to have to be constantly coddling them.
Yeah, unless it's really sunny, and
unless that brings you joy. I mean, some people want that whole very, very intensive kind of care regime. Personally, I do not have the time for that, so that doesn't work. But I know some people have a very, very Hilton Carter, who I interviewed recently, had a very, very strict regime of houseplant care, and that was wonderful to hear. I just know that's not me, and it's never going to be me. So.
And I'm the same. And I don't want people to get stressed about bringing plants into their home, and if you just bring one in and try it. So don't, some people like Hilton, oh my gosh, it sounded like it brought him so much joy. I loved that interview. And, but some people, if it's going to stress you out, just start with easy or start slow, because they really can bring, and how can it bring you joy, whether it's that nurturing part or that easy part and just looking at something really cool and natural.
Yeah, and there are some lovely pictures in your book of different ideas of how to display plants in the bedroom. Can you just talk through some of the things that you suggest in the book as good strategies or good plant combinations?
Oh, sure. I think if you could layer, if you have a big bedroom, and a lot of people don't, you could, would layer your plants. If you have a darker bedroom, bring in some that are a fresh, bright color, like there's a limelight Dracaena that can take low light, that is really beautiful, that might add some oomph or some color to your bedroom. I would say if you're small on space, you want to wall mount something. You could put, as I said earlier, a little Marimobile, which are these aquatic plants that are super easy. Just take low light, and you could just mount it on the wall in a little dish somehow. Or you could, I thought about a little picture frame on the wall that would make it really easy. You just glue some moss to a picture frame and put that on the wall. And that kind of evokes the feeling of nature, yet it doesn't take up any space. It just is something on your wall.
That is a good point, because I would love to have a bedroom with a super king bed in it, and but I've got a really small bedroom. My bedroom, I can just about walk between the bed, which is a standard size double bed, which I'm sure Americans would think was ridiculously small, but a standard size UK double bed, and I've just got room to walk between the bed and the chest of drawers and the wardrobe and round the other side of the bed, and that's it. It's not a massive space. We do not have the biggest bedroom in the house. This is what happens when you have children.
Yes.
So, there's no floor space. I couldn't have anything on the floor. So I think that's a really good suggestion, to have things that are up high. And I guess also good if you have got children that might be getting their hands into things as well.
Exactly. Yes, and there are some containers that you can hang from the ceiling that are waterproof and self-watering. So you could do something like that, hang it from the ceiling, or do a bracket extended from the wall, and then it's also not going to drip all over your floor if you water it. When you water it, that's a big deal.
More from Baylor shortly, but now let's hear from our other sponsor for this week's show. This week's episode is also supported by KiwiCo, bringing fun, hands-on projects to your door for children aged 0 to 16 plus. The great thing about KiwiCo is each crate comes with absolutely everything you need to complete a really cool craft project with your child that makes learning fun. So you won't be rushing out at the last minute to buy that glue that you forgot. KiwiCo has hundreds of projects to choose from, and each one is centred around a different aspect of science, technology, engineering, art and maths. Visit kiwico.com/ontheledge and get your first crate free. Just choose your line of crates and get them shipped monthly. You can also cancel or pause your plan at any time. My daughter loved her doodle crate, which is aimed at 9s to 16s who love to be creative. She got to make a felt succulent garden and model her own clay characters. And she said, "You know what, Mum, the best thing is you don't need to worry about me overwatering it." So change the way your child plays with KiwiCo. Visit kiwico.com/onledge for your first crate free. That's kiwico.com/ontheledge to get your first crate free. And now back to my chat with Baylor Chapman. Do check out the show notes while you're listening for lots of info on the plants we discuss and also for the lowdown on Baylor's book, Decorating with Plants. And you also talk in the book about plants soaking up sound pollution. Are there any particular plants that are good at soaking up sound?
Yeah, so I thought that in doing my research for the book, I thought that was a really fascinating a part of it is how plants help us in absorbing sound. And of course, it's not going to be like a sound wall, but it is going to be like adding a carpet to your place. So plants absorb and they refract and they reflect sound. So they do it three different ways. So a big leafed plant like a Ficus lyrata or something like that, the fiddle leaf fig, that is going to be really good because it's big. It's got a lot of surface area. And it's also, if you get the topiary type or if you get the full bushy, then it's really going to help you with sound absorption. And also if you get a big plant, and I know we talked about this, a lot of bedrooms don't have the space, but if your bedroom has the space and you have, say, a 5-gallon or a 10-gallon pot or a big chunk of soil on the bottom, that soil and that pottery is, and the basket or whatever you have it in, is also going to absorb sound. And you can also think about layering your plants. So if you're not going to do a Ficus lyrata, you're going to do tons of little stuff, you can do it that way. And you could also put plants in the corner. Then it kind of absorbs sound from both directions.
And when it comes to houseplant trends, we obviously sansevieras are really big. Are there any other plants that when on your travels around nurseries that you're suddenly seeing people really getting into?
Yeah, someone asked me that the other day. I'm seeing a lot of the oxalis out these days, which I think are so sweet, especially because they move with the light and they kind of go to sleep at night. So I think that's a neat one for the bedroom, and that one seems to be really trendy right now. I'm seeing a lot of those. And let's see, there's a new ficus I love. And correct me if I'm saying it wrong. It's Ali or Alii. I was saying Alii, but another nursery person said Ali. And it's I
would have said Alii, but who knows?
Yeah, that's what I would say too, because 2 eyes on the end. But okay, so Ficus alii, I think it's amazing. I just love it. I think it can come in 2 different forms, meaning that you could get this topiaried form where it's a little lollipop style, or you can get this really bushy style, and if it's not pruned up. And I think that's a neat one for the bedroom, and it's fairly easy. And it doesn't, it's not subject to losing a lot of its leaves like some ficus when you move from one place to the other, because I often like to move my plants around my house.
And I think the dracaenas as well, like the lemon lime, and there's more interesting dracaenas as well around. I saw some really interesting ones at when I went to the Netherlands to visit houseplant nurseries there, and they slowly seem to be coming through onto the market. I think I've been a bit sniffy about dracaenas. I think they're such common plants that you don't tend to sort of notice them. But I can imagine they'd be really good in a bedroom because they are so tough.
Oh, they're so tough. Yes.
They've got some heft. They're not a tiny plant, but at the same time, they're not taking up too much room.
Yeah, well, there's one, a Janet Craig, which I love, and I've gotten in a little tiny, 3-inch pot that I can put on my windowsill or put on my tabletop. But then I also have one that's, 4 feet high. And it's got amazing structure and these deep green leaves. And I think that one has been really good for me in lower light conditions. And also the limelight dracaena, which I think is so beautiful because it's this chartreuse, bright green, and it can lighten up any space. And again, it's been a very easy plant for me to take care of.
And what about bringing, in your book, there's some lovely examples where you've kind of done, I think you call it a living centerpiece, where you've brought lots of different plants together.
That's my favorite thing to do.
Is that something that is presumably a relatively short-term creation that might last a few months but isn't kind of a long-term thing? Or do you try to put things together that will be happy together in the long term?
Good question. So I think I do it both ways. So it really depends. I mean, if I'm going to do a succulent arrangement with all succulents and it's kind of this jewel box thing, of course, that's going to be a long-lasting arrangement. But sometimes for weddings or events or special projects, or someone's having a dinner party, I'll do them and they have a little more of a short-term life. And not the life of the plant, but the life of the arrangement together. So I like to do those that you can either plant them all together or you stage them, meaning that you have a big vessel and you put in props in the bottom to make everything the right height, and you put in waterproofing plastic pots below each and then top it with moss. And each plant might have different requirements or needs or desires as far as water or light goes, but it might be a really nice thing to enjoy for a week if you have house guests or you're having a big party. And these arrangements can be anywhere from 3 inches to, I don't know, a few feet high and big. So that's what I just love to do, because I like to kind of rival the cut floral arrangements, not meaning compete with them, but just kind of how can I make this planted arrangement just as beautiful as some cut floral arrangements are.
And I guess that this goes back to our original point about playing with plants, that this is exactly what you mean, that you're just using them as material that might have a long life, might not have a long life in that particular form, and then you can break it apart and do something else.
Exactly. And that's what I kind of love to help people with, is kind of, it could live here for a week and then you can take it out and you can put it in its single pot and put it exactly where it might thrive a little bit better. Or you could take them apart and give them to friends. It's kind of my favorite thing to do, is kind of create those living arrangements or living centerpieces.
And what is the nursery scene like in where you are? A place where you're able to get hold of really good plants?
Oh my gosh, we're so lucky in the Bay Area. I'm in San Francisco in California, and I travel down to the Santa Barbara area, which is near Los Angeles. And all along that way, they're just great nurseries. I would say that a lot of our houseplants, though, do come from Florida. I know they're shipped over from Florida, and I know some of the Dracaenas come over from Hawaii, as well as other plants. But I feel like we're pretty lucky here. And of course, the houseplant trend has really been picking up in San Francisco, as well as everywhere else or other places I've been, I should say.
Yeah, I can imagine that San Francisco was pretty early onto that trend as a major urban centre. And I think your climates probably means that you can grow some really interesting things. But San Francisco climate, is everybody got air conditioning? So inside, actually, it's not. So is it one of those things where air conditioning plays a role?
It does not play a role in San Francisco at all. I mean, maybe some people have it, but it's really a climate that doesn't vary too much. We have a lot of fog in the summer in some parts of the city, but it doesn't get terribly cold here at all. So we don't have that fluctuation. And I know with air conditioning and plants, people have some troubles with that, but we're lucky here.
Oh, that's great. Well, I've only visited once very briefly to go to visit Yahoo headquarters, funnily enough.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I didn't really get to see much of San Francisco aside from that. So I will have to come back, because it seems like one of those places that I should spend more time in. But it's all part of the On the Ledge US tour, which yet is completely a fantasy in my head. But maybe one day it will actually happen. But it's really nice to see this book actually coming to fruition and inspiring lots of people. Have you had, the book I think it's been out for about a month and a bit. Have you had a good reception so far?
Yeah, I have had a good reception. It's been really nice. I think that people think that, thank you for making it easy. There are different ideas in it that makes it accessible. And I think that's what I'm hoping for, is that it's not so hard to create some beauty. And and just give it a whirl, give it a try.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me, Baylor. It's been great fun to talk to you. And I will report back once I've got my bedroom fully greened up.
Okay, great. I can't wait to hear. And I want to see the picture of the pilea that
Yeah.
replaced the football picture. So
Yeah, I'll send
I
that
would
through. I'll send you a picture of that. You can see it's sort of, well, it was suffering a bit. It had got a bit crispy from its poor location, but it's reviving fast now. So it's obviously happy at last, which is
good.
great.
Good.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, take care. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much to Baylor for joining me this week. I hope that's inspired you to think about bedroom plants in perhaps a little bit of a new way. I'm off to search for a super clone, but I'll be back next Friday for more houseplant chat, tips and tricks. Right, I need to find where the dog's gone and get off this beach, so I'll say bye-bye. Take care, bye! Say bye, Wolfie! Oh, I forgot, he can't speak. Anyway, Wolfie says bye too. Bye. The music you heard in this week's episode was Roll Jordan Roll by the Joy Drops, An Instrument the Boy Called Happy Day Gakana by Samuel Corwin, and Water in the Creek by Josh Woodward, with ad music by the Heftone Banjo Orchestra playing Dill Pickles. All licensed under Creative Commons. See janeperrone.com for details.